This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is show for the week of December 15th, 2025. And this is what's going in our 2025 Disney World. It is the year in review. So we're going to talk about everything that happened this year. Next week, we're going to go over our 2025 predictions and then go into our 2026 predictions for next year. And then the following week, the last week of the year, we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. We've already started for a list of questions on Discord. So if you're listening on YouTube and you want to throw these in the comments for the next couple shows, or on Twitter or Blue Sky, or hop onto Discord, throw some questions you want to ask us personally, or about Disney in general, or about anything. Basically, ask us anything.
That's why it's called Ask Me Anything.
You should probably ask
us anything.
AUA, ask us anything rather than whatever, but that's not a thing. But anyway, we're gonna do a year in review, Phil, and I can't believe that this is our 6th year doing this. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
2020 through 2025. That's crazy. And I think that's awesome altogether. But before we get into that, just a reminder of all the social media we just mentioned: Discord, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're posting a lot on Instagram now and a lot of our shorts at the DBC Pod everywhere. So we appreciate that. Quickly, Phil, do you want to go over some of the little news items for the week, and then we'll go into construction, and then we'll go into the year review. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think kind of the biggest specific news item that came out is that they provided an explicit date for when the current version of Rock and Roller Coaster will close. I know we talked about it. I forget if it was last week or the week before, but they had started working on the pre-show, boarded that up. But now we know the entire ride is going to close. I think the last day to ride is March 1st, and March 2nd is the day that it'll close, and they will start working on the new version with the Muppets, which they said is going to open in the summer sometime. So it looks like only about a 5-month-ish refurb, I guess, for that. But obviously they're already starting on the pre-show, which is the part that has the animatronics and stuff like that.
And the track was redone a year ago, so it's basically mostly cosmetic stuff.
Yeah. So not too bad, but at least we finally have a date, so you can kind of plan around it. Date's a little interesting because it feels like it's closing kind of right before we get into spring breaks and stuff like that. But I guess they had to pick a date.
They got to pick a day because if it's not then, and then it's really close to Memorial Day, and then it's really close to whatever. So there's always something going on.
Yep. The other big news is that Disney decided to invest $1 billion into OpenAI, which has ChatGPT and Sora, I think, is the media company that you can use to make videos and stuff like that. And part of this is that they are licensing it for Sora to use 200 Disney characters, including Mickey Mouse and Darth Vader and stuff like that. So you'll be able to use this Sora product to make kind of fun videos for yourself that I guess can involve you and your family along with Mickey Mouse and that sort of thing. So what was your reaction to this, Jason?
I mean, basically, the first thing that came into my mind is they had to pick a side because somebody was going to use this product in all the AI out there. They're already suing Google for it right now. So if they license one person to do it, then they can sue everybody else. And it's like, well, if you want to use it, you have to use with this licensed product, right? So they have now money invested in them, whatever that means. But now it's just, I think it's another vehicle to allow them to use maybe some of Open AI computes, as they call them in the industry, for maybe because Disney's using AI more and more in a lot of their different platforms. So it's interesting to see how they're going to use AI going forward. But to me, it was just like, businesses invest in other businesses. $1 billion is not what $1 billion was 10 years ago, right? Disney's a successful business. They're making billions of dollars in profit every single year. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense to invest in technology as things go on.
Yeah, I think this is sort of, whether we like it or not, sort of the future of where things are going, and they want to be part of it. And I think it makes sense to invest in sort of probably the market leader in this. And my first thought was exactly what you said, was that sort of like, okay, we're investing in it. This is where, if you want to use our product and our IP in this way, this is the way you can do it. So it's a little bit controlled,
right?
Versus like everybody doing whatever the heck they want. out in the wilderness. So this way, if you're not using this platform and you're using Disney IP, it's easier for them to go after you and that sort of thing. So it's sort of, they knew this was going to happen some way. So this is kind of their way of trying to control things a little bit, I think.
A little bit. Yep.
Other report was that a car on the Tomorrowland Speedway caught on fire.
Did you see this, by the way?
I saw like images, and I didn't like get into too deep on it, but I saw the car with like smoke coming out of it and stuff like that. So I didn't exactly know what happened. Is it just the engine caught on fire, or I don't know. But
I thought it was just funny because I just saw it on like Twitter, and it was like a video of like when you're exiting the area, and it had just like small little tiny flames coming out of like where like right behind like the headrest, I guess.
Okay.
And it was just like, it was like little tiny, it wasn't like smoking or whatever, it was just like little tiny like campfire flames coming out. And I'm like, all right, well, I think it's time to replace all those now. Let's just get rid of them, right?
Yeah, maybe this will be the motivation or that prompts them to actually replace the cars. Because if all of a sudden it becomes a danger and there's a risk of people, lawsuits and stuff like that, that could be the monetary component or motivation they need to upgrade them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last news story I saw was that they kind of teased this something was going to happen I think it was on the 12th in Disney parks, and it turns out that it was tied into the Disney Plus release of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour videos and stuff. But in Hollywood Studios, there is now a display of a whole bunch of the costumes and outfits that Taylor Swift wore on the Eras Tour, and there was, not surprisingly, a huge line of people waiting to go see that. Is this something you would wait in line to see, Jason? And if not, is there anybody else's clothes that you would wait in a long line to see?
There's no Swifties in my family, and my daughter's 12. She'd be. I think like if you're 12, you're too young to be a Swiftie, I guess, at this point. Because
I don't know. I see like some kids even younger that are really into it, and then some that are older. It kind of spans ages, but my daughter was more into it when she was like 8 or 9, and then I guess her friends got into other things and stuff like that. So she's like, not really into Taylor
I want to say that
anymore.
my daughter was a Swiftie like maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago for like 8 months, and then it was just like, all right, she's into whatever at this point. I think she was more into it as a fad and not as like I love this music type of thing. Is there any clothes I would actually wait online to see? I don't think so. I mean, I'd wait on a small line to see some like cool movie props from like Indiana Jones or like, I don't know, Star Wars or any kind of like major film. I always find that interesting, but I'm not waiting for more than like 20 minutes to get in there and see it. I don't.
I mean, the line in the video I saw was long, but I think it's probably one of those things that moves fairly quick.
Yeah.
I don't think they were waiting for hours and hours and stuff like that. Yeah. I was trying to think of this too. I had similar thoughts. First thing I had was like Star Wars, and there used to be Star Wars stuff in Launch Bay, and I did go see them. I don't know if I'd wait hours to see it or anything like that. Music-wise, probably the music act I'm the most into is the Dave Matthews Band. So maybe if they had like guitars and stuff like that that they used, I'd wait online to see that and things like that. So,
but how long?
I don't know. If it was like my one shot or something like that, I'd probably wait like 20, 30 minutes, something like that. But so, which is probably what these people were doing.
It's reasonable.
Like that. So yeah. So I just think it's interesting that clearly, obviously, she's a big star. Disney has the connections, and it's something else to see, and it's something you can only, this is only available at Disney, so it's more attention they're getting for that. So
I want to bring up a random video that was in Discord. It's by a YouTuber, Simon Williams. I guess he's a bigger travel YouTuber.
Okay. And
I don't know if you remember seeing it. Like he went to like 4 different deluxe resorts at Disney World, and he kind of did like a little hour video of each of his whole trip. He was there for like 5 days, went to 4 things. And I don't know why I'm bringing this up right now, but it just popped in my head because of just, waiting and whatever.
Okay.
If anybody wants to go out there and watch this video, it's really cool. So he went to the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary, Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the Riviera. And he liked the Riviera the best, Phil, because he said it was the most posh because he's from Wales, from England. I'm assuming you didn't see this video.
I saw that it was posted, but I didn't watch it. And I saw some people commenting that they thought it was interesting to get his take because he's not like a Disney fanboy. Like you said, he just does general travel. So getting his thoughts on how do these Disney resorts actually compare to other resorts elsewhere, not just in the Disney bubble.
And he wasn't really comparing it to everything else, but he was comparing like how deluxe the rooms were. And it was interesting. This is completely random. It has nothing to do with our show. I regret bringing it up already. But I want to point out, if you're interested in somebody else's like outside take, because what kind of triggered this thought was From just a quick couple clips I saw of like all the Swifties online to see some of this stuff, I don't know if they were really like Disney fans or they were just like Swiftie fans. So this is a guy that's a travel person. Like I saw his YouTube channel. He goes on different cruises and, travels all over the place. And he just happened to be at Disney for the first time. And I just thought it was interesting to have like an outside reaction to like everything that was going on. And if you watch it, some of the cast members of different hotels make mistakes about describing their hotels and like the history of them a couple different ones. I'm like,
now I want to watch it.
I'm pointing it out. See if you can find it. Take it out. It's a good video regardless. So I just want to point out cool videos that
it is interesting. And I'm not surprised by those comments because I haven't stayed at Riviera, but we visited a few times and it definitely feels the most like, yeah, posh is a good word, but like kind of modern, upscale. And like if you were used to traveling around the world, this type of hotel would probably appeal to you and that sort of thing versus like the Polynesia, which is kind of kishy and stuff like that. Yep. So I'm not surprised that as kind of a world traveler that the Riviera did kind of resonate with him.
Yeah. So I just thought it was rather interesting. There's really isn't any, construction news as we go along. There's just two. There's a permit going in for the tree houses at Saratoga Springs, a refurb going on with them. I don't think that's anything major. And then there's two different permits that went up for the theater show at the Monsters Inc. and Monstropolis, I guess we have to start calling it, which just goes to show that they're potentially getting a head start on a lot of that stuff. And potentially the show might open sooner sooner than the Door Coaster. So Phil, my question for you is maybe this is a prediction for 2026. Will the theater show open before the roller coaster? Will these soft open the land?
Yeah, I would say if I had to bet like any sum of money, I would say no. I think they're going to open up the land as a whole, but I don't think it's a non-zero chance that they do that. I think they could just say, hey, we want more capacity in there. It's pretty much ready to go. Why not? But there's still other infrastructure with the restaurant. Yeah. Like, I don't know if they would just open up the show. I think it would be if they have kind of the front part of the land done.
Well, that's what I mean. The restaurants, basically everything before you go back to the Door Coaster. Do you think that they would open
it? Feels like they still have a lot of work to do with the restaurant and stuff like that. So I think once you start getting close, you might as well wait. But you never know. They opened up, Galaxy's Edge in parts, so you never know.
Things are moving though. There's lots of permits flying all over the place. Exciting time to be a Disney World fan. All right, so let's get into our 2025 Disney year in review.
The other thing I know you didn't mention, it wasn't a permit. Yeah, just the Tropical Americas, the Encanto show building went vertical, and there's like lots of steel going up and stuff like that, and you could really see it going. So that's going to start moving fast. I think that's one of those things. It's just we're in that one of those phases where we're going to see a lot of work quickly. And then it'll probably slow down and stuff like that.
Well, that was my thing. I didn't know if I really wanted to put in more steel goes up. Like every week, I'm going to say the 3 more beams go up, 4 more beams go up. Maybe like the next update when it's like fully up, it looks like they're starting to put panels on. I think that'll be the next update. But if you follow guys like Drew, the Disney dude, on you'll see him. He's like there's like another level of steel going up type of thing. So I'm not putting those in updates. I'll put permits and like different milestones, like the walls are going up or there's cement going down on it. I don't know, like different things that are whatever. But it's a good point. Like they're actively working on it and it's gonna go quick, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start again. 2025 Disney World in review. So this is going to be a collection of news stories, the biggest news stories of 2025. This is going to be some of our podcast highlights. I don't know if we have some, right?
Some,
our own personal highlights. We did a lot of Disney World this year, I think, Phil.
Yeah, especially going in, we didn't think we'd have much.
Yeah,
and then we have a whole
I'm curious to go back and say like, what did we think our travels? Like right now, I'm saying I'm probably not going to Disney World at all next year, and I probably said we just have our one trip, and it was down there 3 times.
Yeah.
So anyway, you wrote this, so why don't you kick it off, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So here's our thoughts. So this is kind of in no order, just sort of stream of consciousness things I thought of. I thought one of the biggest stories is probably the closure of the Rivers of America. I think there were a lot of people holding out hope until it actually closed that they weren't going to do it, but Disney went ahead with it, and it is obviously an active construction zone and that sort of thing. So obviously the parts will be changed forever.
That was a huge major thing, and we have some quotes from a bunch of people around the internets about like this. And this is something that everybody talks about. I think it was announced back last year at D23, last year at D23, and no one believed it, and then all of a sudden it was confirmed, and then there was more art, and then all of a sudden the walls start going up. And once those walls start going up, Phil, we thought maybe they would slow play it, but then as we saw the movie, we're like, yeah, November it's going to be gone. And it was basically gone in November.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go look at some of Bio's shots recently, there's more bulldozing going, there's more dirt moving. This isn't even though it was kind of like we slowly got used to it and slow played it, when we look back on this like 5 years from now, like this is going to be like a major change to the Magic Kingdom. And it's going to be absolutely amazing that we're like living through it right now. Like when we're grandparents and we're bringing our like 10-year-old grandkids through the park, or like, it's like, when I was younger, like there used to be a river here and all this other stuff. And people will be like, no way. And then there'll be like the old videos of like the riverboat.
Wait, so you guys just went on a boat that went in a circle?
That was it?
and so many people were upset at what's going away. Like,
right, exactly.
Speaking of people being upset that things went away, Muppet Vision 3D closed, and all of Muppet Courtyard. Obviously, it had their final showing, and that turned out to be a nice evening and stuff like that for the diehards that went down. I think both of us got our chances to say goodbye to it and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's another part that not necessarily the same footprint that the Rivers of America had, but it was something that had been there for a long time in Walt Disney World, and it is closed now.
I like that it closed this year because that was the impetus for our down and back trip that we got to go to the park without our families. We got to go hang out at Hollywood Studios for a day. It's sad that like something has to close for us to get together to do it, but what's a better reason for like spending hundreds of dollars and go down there for a day other than seeing a random attraction close? So I thought that was really cool that we got to do that. Sad to see it go. To this day, I'm still mystified by all the pushback that this got online. Obviously, everything's going to get pushback, but like when I finally got to see it for the last time, it's just like I'm looking at them like I could see how it always pulled at everybody's heartstrings. It's very nostalgic. I know you loved it. Like you can recite the whole thing, and I understand everybody's ties to it. I get that. But I'll always be amazed where people are so vehement against like a change in the parks like that. I mean, that's my mindset. So I'll always like that, think that way, but I will always have the utmost respect for people that have the memories and always love something with something that they always enjoyed, going away too. So that was an interesting conversation for that one.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, though, I think what a big story is that there's major work going on in 3 of the parks. We have Tropical Americas in Animal Kingdom. We have Monstropolis and the Animation Courtyard work going on in Hollywood Studios. We have Piston Peak and Villains Land going on in Magic Kingdom. Excuse me. Not to mention all the kind of smaller projects like Buzz Lightyear and Big Thunder and all that sort of stuff.
And not to mention, we just wrapped up Test Track, opened up this year. I don't know if you have that on this list, but Test Track opened up this year with a brand new change.
And probably some of the most universally positive feedback to an update. Like not everybody, but like overall, I think people were like, oh, this has like kind of old school Imagineering to it and stuff. So, well, I mean, let's think about it. Like everybody was like Test Track though. They were kind of excited about it. People were kind of miffed about like the social media, like the real, sweaty people that are like about the updates, but then it opened up and everybody liked it. And then no one cared anymore. You don't see conversations like, oh, version 2 is better than 3. I can't believe they did this. And, there's no complaints. Everybody's just enjoying it and moving on with their lives. It's fun when stuff like that happens. But yeah, all major work in all 3 parks. Like I don't remember another time where there's 3 lands going in like in 3 different parks like this. This is, basically Disney playing catch up from like the 4 years during the COVID restriction. Each of these seem to be on track for 3 years of actual physical construction before opening. We still don't have openings in Monstropolis and Piston Peak and Villains Land, but all within the next 2 to 4 years at this point right now. And we'll do some predictions for D23 in a year from now or 10 months from now, or whatever it is. But to me, Epcot's going to get some love along the way too, but not full lands as well. But I don't remember the last time that we saw this much work going on, Phil. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's, when you think about it, it's probably the equivalent of like half a new theme park when you add it all together, going together, right? It's quite a lot of work. So, and the other comment I added to it was just the speed of work in general. These things seem to be moving quickly now that they're going, but even things like the Coco over at Disneyland, they moved up the timeline for, closing that and stuff. So Disney just seems to be moving faster than in the past.
Yeah. To me, we get some recency bias. I get within the last, I don't know, 7 years, up until I guess Tron opened up. It was a meme, like Disney moves so slow, they never open up things. It's the Epcot walls and all this other stuff, and that's just what we remember for this timeline. But I like say, like, we got to look at Disney historically, and what were the last 3 major things done leading up to COVID? It was Pandora, Toy Story Land, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, right? And those each took 3 years. It was give or take like 4 or 5 months, right? With how it was, and with them the way that they're moving now, they're moving at that same pace. They're not doing anything faster. It's like, this is how fast. But I think what the thing is, we're contrasting it against Tron. Yeah. We're contrasting against them doing nothing for so long, and then we have forgotten what it's like for Disney to building a brand new land, essentially. Not forgotten, but it's not part of our, collective zeitgeist, I guess, right? And it's all 3 of them are all happening at the same time versus like the East kind of like spread out a little bit. So I think the level of work being done is absolutely amazing.
Yep, I agree. Another story, we talked a little bit about this, but I think just Disney and AI in general was a big topic. There were some things where like they were going to use it in the animation process and things like this. And what does it mean for, the creators and stuff like that? It's just a whole new world, and Disney's navigating it. But I think that's a big topic for Disney. And then obviously recently the investment in OpenAI. And then the last thing I put was, excuse me, Disney Destination D23. There was like a decent amount of news that came out of it. It just wasn't what people were expecting the news to be. And so they kind of felt like there was like backlash to it, because it was like, oh, we didn't get anything because we didn't get anything on Villain's Land or whatever. But it's like, no, we didn't get that, but we did get these other things.
Yeah. I liked Destination D23. It's me. I was very jealous about. I think we talked about, are we going to go to Destination D23 with our prediction? You were definitely going. I was kind of up in the air about it, which I did not end up going. But I like, it's like more of like for real fan. I mean, it is, for the fan club, and it's exhibits and performances and talks and that type of thing. It's not really a newsy type of thing, especially since D23, the last D23 was such a spectacle and a production. They're not going to drop major details at this tiny show than when they're showing it off to tens of thousands of people in the Honda Arena, I think, out in LA.
Yeah.
So I can't think of any other news stories, because all we're talking about is all the updates, right? All the construction, all the changes. I think people are starting to make early predictions for D23 next year. We're going to make our own for the parks next year. But next, let's talk about some of the highlights for our podcast this year, Phil. What are some of the things that you want?
Yeah, some of the things that jumped out of, I remember we haven't done it in a little while, but for a while there we were going live, and we were live podcast for about a couple months maybe.
I think it was only like 6 shows that we
went shows
live,
or something like that. But it was definitely fun once the chat started going. I think it was a fun experiment to do. Maybe we'll try to do it again then all of a sudden our schedules just got not consistent at all. The other thing I remember was when Christopher Ninez, one of the directors of Not Just a Goof, came into the chat on one of the lives, just to kind of say, because we had talked positively about the documentary, and just to kind of thank us for saying about that and stuff like that. Anytime we kind of get people reaching out to us, I think it was neat. So that was cool.
I want to go back to I would love to do live recordings every Monday night, but my work schedule got really beat up in the middle part of the year. And if you're not going to do something consistently at the same time every single week, it's hard to build a live audience, because the only reason to do it live is to interact with the people in chat. And if we don't do it every Monday, people aren't going to show up. So that was unfortunate. I don't know when we can go back to do it. I don't know if I want to do something on a Saturday. Like Saturday night would be consistent, but then I'm taking my Saturday nights away from my family and friends. So I don't think we're not making tens of thousands of dollars on this, Phil, where I can commit like a Saturday night to do it, right? We're not paying for our vacations with this show that we make absolutely no money on right now. So that was fun. I really appreciated that.
The other thing I thought, I do feel like our Discord server is growing, and there's been some new members, and some of them have been contributing quite a lot, which sort of changes the vibe and the feel and everything. So it's always sort of moving forward.
It's always good when we have fresh blood, new opinions. I want to give out a really good shout out to Prism Skywalker. Joe in parentheses is his name. He really engages in the movie section. He's really taken over a really good conversation there. So he's one of the newer members that's been contributing quite a bit. So I want to give him a personal shout out for that. So we really appreciate when people come in, just dive in and just kind of join the conversation. And it's really great. There's a really cool conversation going on about, I didn't get to listen to Len Testa's podcast this week about like how going to Japan is cheaper than going to Orlando, that whole meme that's going on right now. Maybe we'll have a conversation about that in the coming weeks and just kind of do the math on it. But there's a real good conversation. So anyway, if you're listening to this, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever, hop into the Discord channel or server and join the conversation. We would appreciate it.
Yep. We didn't have as many guests this year as we've done in the past, but we did have Drew on a few times. We had Matt formerly from Diz Happenings. And then we kind of kicked off the year where we had Tom Servo from our Discord on to talk about it, ironically, to talk about his Tokyo trip. So,
I mean, I'd love to get more. We used to have a lot more guests. I always feel guilty asking like Scott Gustin or Len Testa to come on our show to just talk about the stuff that they talk about all day, like whatever. Like we're a bunch of just fans and nobodies on this show, but like, you know, I don't know. I every time we've had Scott on, we always spend like 2 extra hours after the episode just chatting about it. So I assume that they just love talking about Disney World, right? But like I always feel guilty asking for about people's time and stuff like that. So
they certainly don't make money coming on our show, so it must be for the love of it. So
absolutely, maybe we should make a priority of asking some of those folks to come on every once in a while. You know, I've got a good rapport with Len, and I asked him about a couple updates for his top stories of the year. He replied to me within like 30 minutes of my email out to him. So maybe he'll come on the show this time. He hasn't been on since that was like our first or second year doing this podcast. It's been like 4 or 5 years. So I think we're not nagging him if we wait every 4 years to ask him to come on the show. maybe.
And then thinking back of like the different episodes we had, one that kind of jumped out to me when I was reviewing, kind of going through all of them was, I remember there was the time where I was just like, I'm doing a positive episode. I'm talking about positivity. And like, we focused on that. And we got a lot of good feedback where people were kind of like, you know, I needed that. I needed to be reminded of that sort of thing. So that was one that kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting is like there was a lot of negativity coming out of D23 with like all the different changes, and those kind of settled in, and then I think that kind of went away after like work started happening. Yeah. Everybody kind of got excited about everything. Then I think like half the episodes this year have been just trip reports for the most part. So like everything got really.
I did count them up that 7 of the episodes were my trip reports.
So that's 7 out of like 50. I think this year is the one year that we've missed is this year. I think we missed as many weeks as we did for the first 5 years that we did this show.
I think so.
So we just had so many like work kind of mix ups in this year. But no, I remember your positivity episode, and I don't think we need to. I mean, every episode should be positive, but I think like everybody's kind of like in a good mood for Disney World for the most part. Thankfully we don't need it. Specifically a positive episode, but I did like that. Yep.
And then on to our own personal Disney highlights. We mentioned we both wound up getting up a little more often than we thought. So for me, it was kind of the variety of the trips that I took. I took 5 different trips down to Orlando, but I only had total of 6 park days and 1 after hours party. Which I think is kind of funny.
Which is like 2 days less than my one vacation.
Exactly.
Which is amazing.
But mixing in there, you know, I had one-on-one trips with my youngest daughter. I had the trip with my wife. We did the guys trip. So it was like every trip was a little bit different. And some were like super short, like last minute. Some were planned a little more. So I think that was pretty neat. As part of it, we got to see my oldest daughter perform at Disney Springs, which was definitely a good memory. Getting to say goodbye to Muppets multiple times because I kept thinking it was going to be my last time down. And then we scheduled another one in. Doing the 4 parks in one day and just kind of the idea of having park hoppers, which I haven't had in years, was fun. And again, it was like another twist and mixing things up a little bit. While it's not Disney specifically, getting to go over to Epic Universe and staying at Helios Grand Hotel.
That's fun.
And then getting to attend multiple D23 events. So obviously at Destination D23, which was obviously a fun experience, but also, you know, in general and everything, and being there with my wife kind of getting to see this whole wacky world a little bit more, getting to spend some time in person with Drew and Scott and Jack and stuff like that was neat. But we also did a couple other D23s, like with the On the Road, we saw the Goofy movie. And then just this past weekend in New York City, we saw the Home Alone one. So we're definitely trying to take advantage a little more of being D23 members.
I missed your initial post about the Home Alone one, but those Spirit jerseys were pretty baller. I wish I was there. I would have bought the not the one where the screaming one. It's the oh goodness, what does it say on the back? Filthy Animal. Quote.
That one. Because this is towards the end of it. They only had it in extra small and triple XL. But they said we're supposed to be getting an email with like a code to order it online if we want to be able to.
Let me know if you get it. I'd like to place an order with you to buy one of those.
Okay. Sounds good.
See, look at that. So I'm winning all day long. This is fantastic. So my personal Disney highlights. I mean, I don't have any outside of going to the parks and doing this podcast every single week, right? So I had 2 down and backs, which was we went like early in the year. What did we go? Like in April, I want to say
April or May, yeah.
Right. So we did that. That was like impromptu, and that was the cheapest I've ever been to Disney. Like we flew down on points. We stayed at $120 something hotel room that we split, and then the most expensive part was buying the ticket, a single day ticket to Hollywood Studios, which was $5,000. Like it was absolutely ridiculous.
It was, I mean, you're exaggerating there, but I think it was literally more. If we split the cost of the hotel, it was literally more than the hotel and the flight because it was on points.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, the flights were essentially free. I had to pay for the taxes for them, but like, I think normally they would have been like $150. Like we could have gotten that. So like $150 plus call it $70 for that. It was like the ticket was $170, $160 to get into the park. That was ridiculous. But what I really liked about that is now we're just recapping our trip reports for the year. I liked how we did Hollywood Studios. I've never been in Hollywood Studios that long and didn't feel like I was going in circles. Like, you know, we basically drank around Hollywood Studios, right? We went to Mama Melrose. We had like an adult beverage and some good food. We went to Galaxy's Edge and went into the cantina. Then we kind of just, you and me, and then we kind of went somewhere else. And then we went to the Brown Derby for some drinks and appetizers. And then we went to
back to
Tap House.
I think we went there twice.
We did with Matt, and then as Matt was running around trying to catch Fantasmic get to his flight after, like that's Matt. I love Matt scrambling like the last hours. Like I got to do everything. We're like,
you definitely see his mode shifted from like, just kind of relaxing, having fun to like, oh, I got to get 18 things done before.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a lot of fun. That was my first time at Disney Park without my family along. That was really great. And then like a month and a half later, it was a couple days before 4th of July, I went down with my daughter. We did our own down and back. That was a lot of fun. We did what did we do? We did 3 parks in one day because we got there early in the day. So we didn't do Animal Kingdom. So we had a lot of fun with that. That was a fantastic day. And then we did our huge vacation, which like, you know, fully took use of hoppers every single day. We did midday breaks. It was literally 118 degrees for a couple of those days.
Yeah, I remember that. You were like, we got to leave the parks. We're dying.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one could be outside. It wasn't like, it's really hot. Let's sit. Like, the shade was just, it was oppressive. So that was my only thing that was my only regret is, again, that was second trip in a row where weather really kind of deterred what we were doing. The first one was one of the coldest weeks of the year, and the next one was one of the hottest weeks of the year. So hopefully you can find somewhere in the middle. But that was great. Went down with my mom, stayed at the car suite for the first time. We're already thinking about how we're going to go back down next time. And you know, that's going to be probably in 2027. Just don't know what part of the year. I just hope I don't want to go until something is open. So it's going to be Tropical Americas, I think. Yeah. So hopefully that's not too late in the year. But then again, I'm like, it's now Christmas time. It's 10 days before Christmas, and I'm like, I really miss being in Disney World during Christmas time and getting all that kind of fun, happiness, like coming back, and then it's like, oh, it's Christmas, and it's like a race to Christmas. I kind of got used to that. Now it's second Christmas in a row not going to Disney World. So I'm like, okay, maybe we need to go back. So another thing is I got an article published on touringplans.com. I know it's just a blog and they only kind of post almost not everything that they get, but it's not hard to get published if you just speak intelligently there. But I was rather proud of the analytics that we did. Shout out to Ryan W. that helped out with a lot of the graphics and some of the data analytics, which was really great. So that was a lot of fun. If you want to catch that, you can go back. I think I deleted it, but if you go back maybe 10 or so episodes, you'll see in the description on YouTube a link to that article. But it goes about like Disney and affordability, which basically comes down to the deluxes are getting more expensive. The tickets are getting more expensive. The hotels are staying the same, and the food is actually quite reasonable compared to a lot of other places around the country. So, all right. So, Phil, we spent a little bit today getting the opinions of some of our favorite Disney bloggers, vloggers, podcasters, Twitter personalities around the internet, and ask them what their top stories of the year were. And the first one I reached out to was Len Testa, and he got back to me, like I think I said at the top of the show, fairly quickly, which I always really appreciate to Len. And he gave me 4 bullet points that he wanted to go over. And Phil, I'm going to read these. I want you to give me your reaction to them. All right.
Okay.
So number 1 was the top story of the year was the opening of Epic Universe. Fantastic rides, a very solid showing for the phase 1, he puts in quotes, of the park. Led to a record tourist tax revenue for Orange County since it opened too. So it was a huge impact, just not only in the theme park news world, but like also for the local economy as well. And you went.
Yeah, we went. We got to experience it. Fortunately, we had a good day as far as reliability overall for the rides. I know not everyone had such success. I think he's perfectly accurate in putting phase 1. It's an incomplete park. But what they've done is fantastic, and maybe they just let too many people in. But they got to recoup their money, all the billions they spent on it and stuff like that. So I get it. So it's a huge story, right? It's the first major theme park that's opened in Orlando in at least a decade and stuff. And it really ended up. I think it was also a big topic of discussion for just what was the impact of this going to be on Disney. And so far, Disney kept saying like, we don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, like that sort of thing.
And it wasn't.
And turns out, at least so far, they were right that it's they're still doing fine. I'm sure Universal's getting a little bit more of the market share and stuff, but the reports of Disney's demise were a bit exaggerated, I think.
Number 2 was the permanent closure of Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, Muppet Vision 3D, and the Rock and Roller Coaster. He calls it the end of one era of Disney theme park lands and the beginning of another. And we talked about this in our list, but I think, like I said before, I think we'll look back on this time as a major shift in the Disney parks, especially if Hollywood Studios continues to get major retheming of its lands to go from like this Hollywood of yesteryear to like a IP land park, right? Type of thing, or a collection of IP lands. So yeah, I think a lot of people said this, right? So we'll go on to number 3. And he says this one's a bit of quote unquote inside baseball. The changes to Disney and Universal have made it to the standby queues to make them more efficient. And this is the nerd and Len and all of us who likes to analyze a lot of this stuff, which I really appreciate. In April, Disney adjusted the Lightning Lane to standby ratios at the merge point to a more favor standby. I think it went from like 12 Lightning Lane people to 1 standby person to like 6-1 instead of like 12-1 or something like that, right? Resulting in lower waits for guests not buying Lightning Lane, emphasis his, not. And Universal worked all year on things like shorter groups to even odd number lines to increase ride capacity. If either of these companies would publish their work, it'd be the best industrial engineering stories of the past few years. And I don't know about you, Phil, but when I was there was a significant difference in the feel of the standby lines. Like they didn't feel like they dragged. You didn't feel like you were standing still for a lot of times. They might have been long, but they moved at a decent pace.
Yeah, and I think when Len mentioned the merge point, I think that's a big point. Because there were sometimes if you got like right at the merge point, got cut off, it felt like you were there for a half hour before. Before like it was the standby like turn again. And I agree with that. I remember we were waiting on like for Mine Train or something like that. Yeah, even with the ride breaking down for a little bit, it still moved. Like you kind of felt like you weren't just stationary. So that's a good point. Like you said, Universal's working on stuff too. We didn't report on it, but Velocicoaster is getting rid of their single rider line because they're going to what Disney does for Guardians and stuff like that, where they're going to have 2 lines, one with even number groups and one with odd number groups. And this way it's going to fill in without needing a single rider line and stuff like that. So yeah, all these different types of things that they work out to be more efficient and stuff like that.
So number 4 was an interesting one. He thought the adoption of AI behind the scenes is really interesting. So he says, I think Disney's using an AI-based system now to assign hotel rooms, for example, and Universal is looking at AI to help estimate wait times in lines. those are really interesting projects that will affect park experience for years. Exclamation points. Very excited about that. So Len is very awesome at sussing out like all these kind of behind the scene mechanics of how the parks work, because it's directly tied to his touring plans, an aspect of like, how do you find hotel rooms? How do you get suggestions, or how do you request hotel rooms? How do you tour the parks? That sort of thing. I don't know what they'd get based on how to assign hotel rooms. Maybe it's like the big giant puzzle piece on like how do you put together like checkout dates and check-in dates, and how to create better blocks so you have more availability. So you have less, I imagine it's like, so you have less times where a room is available for one night before the next gets in. So like if you go throughout your whole year and you have all these pockets of 1 night or 2 days,
right.
1 or 2 days here and there, that when you put them together, you had, I don't know, 10 weeks worth of time of one hotel room not being occupied. And if you put more people in it, you get more money, right? So I think that kind of works. And that's kind of hard to do as a person as you're shifting things around. So maybe AI is able to do that a little better. I don't know if you have any comment. I thought that was just interesting.
I think all that stuff is interesting. I think this one and the one before it are interesting. And when Len mentions, if any of the companies would publish their information on this, I think it'd be fascinating, because I mean, Len's probably as good as anyone in the industry and has as much access as anybody, but he still doesn't get everything that Disney knows and stuff like that. And so it's
he does, but he can't mention it, right?
It might be that too. Yeah, he probably can't share it, half the stuff he does get access to. So just, whenever people are talking about like capacities and things like this and blah, 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 it's like, we don't know everything Disney knows. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to be in the boardroom or whatever the room was when all the pros and cons of changing out Frontierland and Rivers of America were made. I think it would be fascinating. Probably have to wait 50 years or something like that until somebody finally writes a book about it, because stuff eventually always comes out. But hopefully it does.
So we want to thank Len for that. Next, I asked the same question to Tommy Hawkins, who writes an excellent Substack about the different additions to both the Universal and Disney parks, kind of fitting in all the other things. He's also the host of the E-Ticket podcast that comes out sporadically whenever they have bigger updates. And he says the biggest story, something that we'll cover on E-Ticket, is that they are being decisive and actually building stuff. I can't even remember the last time there was active projects in multiple parks. I'd have to think longer about the other two. So I think that, the fact that he couldn't come up with 3, and that's like the major focus, and that's something he spends a lot of time on in his blogging and stuff like that. And we already talked about it before, but again, that's on the top of everybody's mind. How much construction? I think we like to say, okay, a lot of people like to be curmudgeons. Disney's cheap. They're always canceling things. They don't like to do things. They draw out construction for longer. There are 3 major projects going on right now, and I think no one really appreciates the scope of what is actually happening at Disney World at the moment.
Yep.
We then asked Drew the Disney Dude the same thing, and it says in no particular order that Michael Moriarty is now the executive VP of Disney Experiences, and he says it's likely Josh D'Amar's successor. So that's kind of the stronger hints to who the next CEO might be. So Drew does a very good job of following and understanding all the different people that we don't really think about, the executives and all this other stuff, and some of the Imagineers. He sees all these people and he kind of sees like who's in charge of what, and kind of piece things together. Like he does a very good job of that. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Drew the Disney Dude. Great follow. Other announcements: the Magic Kingdom surprise announcement that Cinderella's castle's colors are going back. Do you remember that, Phil? What do you remember thinking about that when you heard that one?
Yeah, it was kind of like a surprise announcement, like Drew says. I think it was largely met with positive reactions that it's going back. I think most people are just didn't like the pink, so they're happy about the change. It did come up recently though, because Disney released their here's our schedule for 2026, and this was one of the things that wasn't on there. So we don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Obviously, there's some people hoping this means the dream lights are coming back for the holidays and stuff. I don't know, but I think it'll be nice to get back to kind of the more kind of traditional or the one that kind of separates Cinderella Castle from some of the other ones. So
What I was really surprised about was when they announced it, you see a lot of comments in a lot of different places that people were sad that the pink is going away, which I never thought I would hear. But I'm like, you know what? Everybody's got a valid
especially if you're a more recent fan that's the version it's like, that's where we have all the photos with our kids and stuff like that. And
And you also mentioned the Carousel of Progress, the changes with Walt going in the first
animation.
That's crazy. So that'll be part of our prediction, I think, for next year. I don't know if that's a 2026 thing.
It's supposed to be. That's another one that wasn't on the calendar, but it's supposed to be 2026. Yeah.
Progress, Muppet Vision and Rivers of America closing. We talked about that. But all this happening within like 10 months of each other, he mentioned.
Yeah.
So I thought that was crazy. And then we talked to Scott Gustin, friend of the show. He says, hey, I think a good angle is Walt Disney World committing to updating existing rides put up against major changes of removing Rivers of America, with Buzz and Carousel and Test Track. Like, we talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. Like, you have all these major projects, but they're doing all these other things that are not like big projects, but they're not small projects. Like medium little updates and stuff like that. I think that's a good contrast to talk about. Like, they're committing to doing a lot in the parks.
Yeah,
at this point.
I thought this was an interesting point for just that they're working on these smaller things as well. But I think what Scott's getting at is that they're trying to get all these smaller things that get positive announcements when they open, versus just having the negative aspect of closing the Rivers of America. Because as quick as they're going, that's still a couple years away. So if they weren't doing these smaller things, all the updates would be about things that are being like torn down or whatever. So it's kind of an interesting strategy they're going of like, let's get a bunch of small positive wins to kind of contrast maybe some of these negative things that people have. So
I think a lot of these changes were planned for like around the 50th. Like, if
I think a lot of this was,
if Chapek wasn't the CEO, and Iger stayed on and COVID never happened, I think we would have gotten a lot of these within like the 20.
Yeah, well, there was supposed to be like 50 updates for the 50th or whatever, and that just went away when COVID happened and stuff. So yeah, some of these absolutely could have been for that.
Yep, and I love just seeing a lot of this stuff. The next one was one of my personal favorites. Follows on Twitter, the original Orange Bird at Orange Bird on Twitter, and it's spelled OGORANGBIRD. It says, I have a few, but for me, it's Dinoland closing, Tropical America construction, Rivers of America closing, the Beacon Barrel were the biggest things that happened in Walt Disney World. It's first mention of Beacon Barrel. Slow year, that's sort of the primer for the next three, right? So like not a lot happened in this year, but a lot was announced. That's what he was talking about. So all the excitement and the kind of construction. The one thing, it's interesting that he talks about the Beacon Barrel for this year, because to me, that's a massive positive change. It's been in the works for a year and a half at this point, I think. Did they announce it at D23 last year?
The one before this year. Yeah.
Right. So yep. And I think they're taking all the lessons learned. We talked about this in the cruise lines, putting them in the parks. And I think we're going to talk about this in the following years. I think this is going to be something that they're going to put everywhere because it's massively successful. They can make a lot of money doing it too. And lastly, we asked our friend Matt of Dis Happenings the same thing. He says, here's a couple. Muppet Vision 3D to Monstropolis. Last November, we found out that Muppet Vision was closing permanently for Monstropolis, but the timing of Muppet Vision closing was probably the biggest story to me. I thought Rock and Roller Coaster might be closing first, but Muppets would survive 2025, which was incorrect. In January, they confirmed Muppet Vision to close in June, hence our down and back trip. This is very still debated. Disney closed Muppet Vision way sooner than they should. He goes into his whole thing about like, did they close it early for? There's a big debate amongst the nerds.
He's had a lot of back and forth with people where some people are saying they're doing it just because they're cheap and to save money on the couple of cast members that worked it. No. But there's obviously a lot of other infrastructure things and to the point we brought up before, maybe it'll open sooner. And I think that's what Matt's hoping for, so that he can, as he said, he's keeping score of getting back to some people. So
I can't wait till that's all comes to fruition. Next, we wanted to take a look at the 2025 box office. Coming into this year, I think a lot of people are talking about all the flops of Disney in 2024, even though they made a lot of money in 2024. Surprise, surprise, Disney's still at the top of the list when it comes to this year's global box office. Number one box office is a Chinese movie that I'm not familiar with that had 23 million domestic and 1.9 billion internationally. But ignoring that one for our domestic audiences, the next two were Zootopia and Lilo and Stitch. At the top, Lilo, it's being the only movie domestically from, or let's see, a Hollywood studio, I guess, to break 1 billion, and then of course Zootopia now it's at what 1.3, 1.2 billion, I think, somewhere in that time frame or space.
Yep, and then when they have Avatar coming out this weekend, so that they might, they'll probably have $3 billion movies this year.
See if it makes $1 billion by the end of the year. Yeah, so that's not on the list. But then you had things like Minecraft, Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon, Superman, and Mission Impossible to round out the top 10. But then if you take a look at the top 15, and I did this just to capture 3 more of the MCU movies, Fantastic Four, Captain America, and Thunderbolts all rolled in. So Disney had 2 of the top 3 movies of the year internationally, the 2 top movies domestically, I believe. And I think it's another strong year at the box office, but they did have some flops, Phil. So we're going to play a quick game of Rank 'em. I don't know how we're going to do this on the fly, but we're going to do this at the fly. And if you don't mind, Phil, I will run it if you don't mind. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 theatrical releases this year, major theatrical releases. Captain America, Brave New World, Snow White, Thunderbolts, Lilo, Elio, Fantastic Four, Freakier Friday, Zootopia 2, Avatar, which has not been released, and Tron Ares. I've seen a bulk of these. Phil, you've seen the other bulk of these, with the exception of maybe of Avatar, obviously, because it has not been released. Let's rank all of them together. Out of these, which would be your favorite movie so far? We'll give Avatar the 10 slot just because it's not out yet.
Yeah. I'm probably going back and forth between Fantastic Four and Zootopia 2. I will probably give it to Zootopia 2.
I haven't seen either Fantastic Four or Zootopia 2 yet, unfortunately. I keep threatening to watch Fantastic Four, and I just haven't had time to sit down because no one else other than my son cares for it, and we just haven't had 2 hours where we can do it because we're usually watching football on Sundays. So I will go with Fantastic Four or Zootopia as number 1 just because, A, it's making the most money, so it probably deserves the crown. Out of all these other ones, I really like Thunderbolts. Even though it didn't do very well at the box office, I thought that was really good. But I will give your Fantastic Four number 2, and I want to give my Thunderbolts a number 3.
Yeah, I mean, Thunderbolts definitely up there. I think just of the MCU movies, I would put Fantastic Four slightly above Thunderbolts. I thought they were both good, though. But Fantastic Four, I think it just had a little bit more uniqueness and kind of like enjoyment factor, for lack of a better word. Like you didn't need to do a lot of homework before seeing it and stuff like that. So I'd just give it a slight nod, but I would put Thunderbolts number 3.
Where would we put our number 4 spot? Would it be something like Elio? Would it be something like Tron Ares or Captain America? What are you thinking for number 4?
I haven't seen Tron Ares, so I can't rate that one. I think Lilo's and Stitch is up there. I don't know if it's as good as Tron Ares or.
No, I mean, I think it'd be fair with Lilo and Stitch. I've seen most of it. My family, my kids have seen it like multiple times. I think. Okay. You saw it twice in the theaters and once kind of at home, so they contributed quite a bit to that box office number. So a number 5 spot halfway through here, Freakier Friday. I don't know too much about. That's another movie I haven't really seen, but I think Tron Ares kind of fits in the 5 spot here. Phil, I have
no issue putting anything above that, so I think that makes fine to give it the 5 spot.
Okay, and then the other thing would be then on the 6, we've got Elio, Snow White, Captain America, and Freakier Friday. To me, at this point, it doesn't really make a difference where they go. What would you put as your least favorite of all of these?
I think Snow White probably has to be. I guess
I'm surprised how bad that movie was when it came out. Like, I was so disappointed with how they treated that property.
Yeah, it just. The way they did it, it was just not. And then the marketing behind it and some of the stuff with the star and
forget about all of that. Like the movie was just bad.
Good, yeah.
Even ignoring the really bad CGI with the dwarves and how like weird they were. Like just there was a couple musical numbers there was one musical number that was really good. I liked Whistle While You Work, but everything else was just not great. Would you put Captain America at number 8 on this list?
Yeah, I haven't seen Freakier Friday, so I can't say. But yeah, I have no problem putting Captain. I enjoyed it. I have kind of like a low bar for MCU movies, but I think compared to the others, I have no problem putting that at 8.
I fell asleep during this one. I'm going to admit that. Elio, I haven't seen yet. I've only seen pieces of it, but it doesn't.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie. I think it had a good message and stuff like that. It just wasn't. I think something that's been coming out of the movie's box office and stuff is things seem to either be like a huge hit or like a dud. And
Yeah.
Elia wasn't good enough to be a huge hit. It probably would have been amazing if it was like straight to Disney Plus or something. But it wasn't great.
It didn't seem like interesting me to go out of my way to watch. It'll be something that like, hey, we have a movie night. What do you want to watch? Oh, okay, let's put this
I
one on,
I
right,
feel
type
like
of thing.
if you pop it on Disney Plus, haven't seen it, you'd be like, that was good. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad I like watched that, but that's not good enough to be like a box office sensation, you know. So
All right, and then now we're wrapping up the 2025 bit. We're going to go back to our DVC engagement from last week, and that was, what is on your Disney holiday bucket list? What is the perfect Disney holiday trip or tradition that you have? Community really came out and went over theirs, and I want to say your number one on your list, Phil, is my only one on my bucket list, and it was quite a few other people's as well. So why don't you go through your list, because you're basically all.
So
of
we
mine.
haven't done a big holiday trip, but like I think I mentioned after our last trip, my wife was kind of like, "Yeah, this is really nice around the holidays, so we could try to fit something in." My work schedule is crazy around this time of year. I actually had to delay the recording of this podcast because I was on a call at 10 o'clock at night or whatever. So I don't think we can ever take like a big trip around here. So it's probably going to be like just a weekend. So I probably won't be able to get everything in I'd like to. But I would love to stay at Wilderness Lodge. I think it's just done up so well for the holidays. It's going to feel homey with the fireplace and stuff like that. And I think of all the resorts, that's where I want to stay. There's plenty of other ones I'd be happy to stay at too. I think a lot of them are great at the holidays, but if I could pick, it would be that one. And I do want to allow plenty of time, and that's why I don't think I could do all this in one trip, for resort hopping. I want to spend time just hanging out at my resort where I'm staying, but also do the monorail loops and things like that, and kind of see a lot of the resorts. I'd love to do the holiday update. It's not a huge change to it, but the holiday version of Hoop-Dee-Doo Review I've never seen. I think that would also be for a nice non-park day type thing. So
I've never done the Hoop-Dee-Doo review, and I want to do holiday overlay or otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just we haven't done it. We almost did it with our last trip, but just didn't quite make it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those you need like a longer trip or less park days because it takes a lot of time out of the day to get to it and stuff. I'd like to do both parties, the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and Jollywood as well.
Have you done the Mickey? You haven't done Mickey.
No, the only thing I did was when I went down for Destination D23, like in 2021, and they had that like modified version where it was like an actual after hours type thing. I did it by myself. So I have seen like the parade, but I haven't done the normal party.
Yeah, it's we did it the one time. It's an excellent party. We had a lot of fun doing it, especially if you're not doing anything that day. You just kind of go in at 4 o'clock. It was cold when we went there, but it's a ton of fun. Like you could do both of like stopping and smelling the roses and do like a blitz of like rides. Like if you want to do both type of thing, it's really fun.
And Jollywood looks really fun too. And so that's kind of the one that's kind of been piquing my interest and stuff if we only do one, but ideally I'd get to both. And I was thinking that would only be my only park time is actually doing the parties, but I don't see how I could go down and not do Epcot and do the candlelight processional and all the festival, the holidays and stuff like that. So that would be my one kind of regular day.
I think what got me to start thinking about doing another Christmas trip again at some point in the future, hopefully next year or the year after, is the festival of the holidays. Contrasting that with the diet Epcot I got during the summer.
During the summer especially. Yeah,
the
for sure.
festival of the holidays is just such an amazing. Yeah, it's such an amazing time. Like it's just good decorations. There's good music. There's good food. It's not altogether super crowded unless it's like the week before Christmas, like we went that one year. But like I think a perfect time would be beginning of December, kind of getting you kicked off to the Christmas time frame is really good. You named it. My number one bucket list is staying at the Wilderness Lodge, and I've been down during Christmas time 2 years in a row now, and I have not stepped foot in the Wilderness Lodge during Christmas time. I've been to a lot of the other hotels and seen their Christmas decorations, but not that one, just because it's kind of a little bit difficult to get to.
Yeah.
So getting over to the Community Mom of 6 on my Disney holiday bucket list is to stay at Copper Creek Cabins over Christmas week. It's the same thing, setting up the tree besides the fireplace, doing the whole thing, and doing a beautiful Christmas or Christmas dinner in the kitchen, like a whole DVC out. It's a big thing because she needs so many points at that time of the year, especially with Mama 6, her family, the size of her family.
Yeah, so these cabins are kind of like the standalone cabins and stuff like that. So it's definitely
expensive.
Like she was saying, they'll likely never have enough DVC points, but it does sound like lovely, especially when she mentions apparently they have their own hot tub so you could just sit in the hot tub and watch the fireworks. So that's pretty nice.
That's in the human soup pan or pot. TL Madden mentioned that just to go in December, he's gone as late as early November and has seen it decorated for Christmas, but it didn't feel like Christmas, which I agree with. I went down for my birthday November 2nd last year, and I literally went during the time where they were phasing out fall and going into Christmas. And even if I was there, I saw some of the decorations for Christmas. Like, it just doesn't feel like Christmas.
Yeah, that's when we were there this year, the beginning of November, and it was like it kind of just kind of like whetted our appetite for doing the holidays down there.
It just felt weird,
but it didn't feel like the holidays. Yeah,
no. So that's cool. And also it's another shout out for the Candlelight Procession along with Mom of Six. Mr. Sheep, brand new member of the Discord community, so thank you for participating in this one. My perfect holiday in Disney would be for the Super Bowl, which was a really interesting conversation. For the extended weekend, he would get in on Thursday and do his traditional Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot, and finally finish Monday at the Magic Kingdom with the Super Bowl MVP parade. Crowd levels seem to be low, et cetera, et cetera. And then, it was brought to mention that, depending on where the Super Bowl is, sometimes they go to Disneyland, sometimes they go to Disney World. So you have to kind of roll your dice on that one. But I thought that was really cool going down during the Super Bowl. I think
especially if it's your team that won. I think that'd be a really neat experience.
Yeah. Or your team that was playing it, right? Because he was going down for the whole weekend. So I think that's kind of cool. Ryan W., Christmas bucket list. He had nice, short, and simple itemized lists, which I really appreciate. Stay at the Grand Floridian, attend all the Christmas parties, and have no parks, and see the difference with the decoration at deluxe at a deluxe resort. So we used to go. We went 2 years in a row to the Grand Floridian for the gingerbread house. I haven't seen any pictures of how it's set up right now. What kind of decoration?
They don't have the gingerbread house this year. They don't have the gingerbread house, but they do have the tree kind of in the middle.
Right.
They did get that up near the new porch bar and stuff, but they don't have the gingerbread house this year.
They mentioned that it might be coming back
or not.
I thought I saw.
They just confirmed for this year, and it does seem like they could fit room, make it work and stuff, but they haven't committed either way.
I always thought it was. I always liked it, but my wife's a big gingerbread house person, right? She loves building her own and stuff like that. To me, it's fun, but like I always thought it was weird. There was this giant house that's like on plywood. It looks cool, but it also is like, this is obviously really kind of disgusting cookies that have been sitting out for like 2 months type of thing. I don't know. I'm silly like that. All right, so that's going to be it of all the holiday stuff going on. Remember, next week we're going to be doing our 2025 prediction review. And in hindsight, how terribly wrong we were on a lot of things and how correct we were on some of them too. And then we'll do our annual 2026 predictions that we'll save for the end of 2026 and see how bad we were at a lot of these things. We got to work this week, Phil, coming up with a bunch of lists that we're going to ask ourselves and catalogs things. So we have to get started on that this week. And of course, our DBC engagement for the rest of the year, or at least for next week leading into the following week, is going to be the AMA questions. Ask us anything. So bring all your questions for us, whether they're personal questions, Disney questions, or prediction questions, anything you want related to Disney. And the whole show is just going to be us kind of rattling off. Because I know a lot of my favorite podcasts, like for my sport podcast that I listen to, they always have like a weekly mailbag that they kind of go over asking things about the team. We don't have that because there's nothing to have a mailbag about on this type of thing, right? We have conversations about it all the time when we talk about what people are talking about. But I think this would be kind of fun. We'll go through a bunch of different questions. So put them wherever you find us, whether it's on the YouTube comment, that sort of thing. And then we'll end it there, Phil, just at the hour mark, which is fantastic. Did I miss anything, Phil, that we have to get to?
No, I think that's it. You hit on it all, and thanks to everyone for thanks you to all the YouTube bloggers and stuff like that got back to us so quick. We literally reached out this afternoon, and everybody got back to us like right away. So we really appreciate that.
So everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.